Good morning. Welcome to the Multi-Purpose Mom Podcast. It is a wild day. I'm going to read from the perpetual calendar today. And if you're watching on video and you see that I look like I'm in my pajamas, I'm indeed not in my pajamas, but I am indeed in clothing that I don't usually leave the house in. Phil hates these pants. If he can find them when I'm not wearing them, he'll probably burn them. He said to me, "Don't wear those out of the house." I said, "Well, I'm not going anywhere." Just to record myself for my podcast. Anyway, today we're made for two places, Eden and heaven. Eden reminds us of who we're created to be, and heaven reminds us of where we're called to go. I really love that. I am talking today as I come off such a wild weekend. The storms. Okay, so I don't know where my listeners all come from. I can look it up. They come from kind of everywhere, which is kind of cool. But here in Southeast Michigan and surrounding areas, I'm sure, we suffered some pretty significant storm damage over the weekend, and it's been quite a wild weekend. So I was actually down in Ohio with a friend shooting a wedding with her Friday evening when the storms hit up here, and it was wicked. I came home Friday night at about 10:30, 10:45, and Phil informed, we didn't have power. Phil said, everything's a mess. I go out back. I can't, we're just looking with flashlights, and everything's in disarray. The entire back fence line is laying under a tree in the field. That portion of the fence line is also where the goats run is. I know I am very fidgety. I'm sorry. Is where the goats run is. So he was no longer secure. I don't really have a backup option for him. I was really in my feels all weekend. Like, I shouldn't even have animals. What am I doing? Like, I don't have the proper setup for them. My son and neighbor graciously showed up Saturday morning, cut down a bunch. And I mean, if you look in like videos that I've shared of our homestead, the apple tree that sits back there, we knew it was dead. Like, we knew it needed to come down. We've been talking about it all spring, but in the nicest way I can without speaking negatively about my husband, I'm just going to say that he has this insane talent of making everything infinitely harder than it needs to be. As actually, so do I. I'm not even going to call. I also have this ability to make everything harder than it needs to be. And then I wonder why life is so hard. But, and I think that's also why we can't work together, because we both have like really hard ways of trying to do things, and it just doesn't work. And I don't know. It was a really stressful day Saturday and Sunday. It was 4th of July on Saturday. And so we were like also trying to get things to go to an event that we had planned, and Phil was just, he's coming off of like a stomach bug. It was a lot, and I had all these plans to come here and be like so uplifting and so encouraging, because I feel like I've really done nothing but whine for the last 3 or 4 episodes, but apparently I'm not out of it yet. I just spoke last week, if you didn't listen. I just spoke last week about the difference between, or not necessarily the difference, but like recognizing is sometimes like our hard days, our bad days, are they spiritual warfare or hormonal? And here I am again, and I feel like my camera's crooked. If you're watching and it's crooked, I'm really sorry. So I just wanted to at least come on here and explain the storms. And then I actually saved a quote that my pastor made, and I wanted to share that with you. I saved it. I screenshot it so I could easily find it, and I'm still struggling. So my pastor, actually, I didn't even go to church yesterday. It was like a whole thing. I did not handle this well. I've also, and this is what I wanted to talk about. This is what I told myself earlier I would say. I'm so glad. Thank you, Jesus, for bringing it back to my memory. I am going to read this quote because I thought it was really powerful. Not quote, but his post. I I think what I have figured out in this is that, not that I necessarily considered myself a prepper, and if you're watching on video, I'm like putting quotations up. I'm not like a hardcore prepper, but I really thought that I was more prepared for stuff like this. And this weekend was really kind of an eye-opener that I am indeed not as prepared as I thought we were. And that really got to me. That really bothers me. And I didn't emotionally handle any of this well. I have thrown more fits this weekend than I care to admit. I have been more poopy, for lack of a better term, than I care to admit. And I'm really not proud of my behavior this weekend. I almost didn't go to our 4th of July plans just because I just knew that I wasn't in like the right mindset to be good company. And I just thought like something's got to give, right? So I thought I would come here. I didn't look up. Usually I'll like look up ideas. I did no preparation for this podcast other than like I told myself in my head earlier that I was going to talk about the fact that I was ill prepared. And then I have a screenshot of my pastor's social media status. But I want to hear from you. I want to hear, like, if you are listening to the audio version, maybe come find me on social media, on Facebook. I'll probably share this post and then you can comment there, or find me on YouTube and let's navigate some discussion there. I am just really curious what kinds of measures do you have in place that you feel like helps prepare you for storms such like this? Like, I drove to the gas station Saturday morning and I felt like I had this revelation that it was like not really an apocalypse, but almost like like a miniature end of world kind of a thing. I get to the gas station. I get to the first gas station, like right off one of our main highways, closest to my house. And I pull in, it takes my, I tap my card, it takes the card, but then no gas comes out. Like, I'm trying to fill up my car, I'm trying to fill up the gas tank for the generator, as is everybody else. And finally, some lady comes out and she was like, "Is your pump pumping?" And I was like, "No." And she said, "I don't think any of the pumps are working." I was like, sweet. Then now I'm afraid that my card's not going to work when I get to the next gas station. So I drive all the way down our Telegraph Road and like everybody's out of power. So like I passed 3-4 gas stations with no power. Also, like an ambulance comes, people aren't pulling over. I'm like, "Everybody pull over. What are you doing?" It just felt like really out of sorts for me. And I was like, is this what it's going to feel like? Like, is this kind of like a small taste of what things are going to feel like when it does get bad? So I finally get to a gas station. There are a million people there, so I'm in line. I'm patient for that kind of stuff. Like, that kind of stuff doesn't usually bother me. When I go to the grocery store, like the day before a holiday or something, and they're busy, and they're like, "I'm so sorry." I'm like, "No, I don't come to the grocery store with any like unrealistic expectations." The power's been out for 3 days. I like set the internet practically on fire when I didn't speak negatively about DTE, and I actually said I'm grateful for this little package they gave. Because apparently everybody wants to be mad at DTE. What good does that do? I just feel like they do what they can. I mean, sure, there's corporate greed. We're probably paying rates we don't deserve to pay, but what am I going to do about it? I can't switch to somebody else. Can't afford to go solar, so, here we are. But I'm just curious what other people, like, what kind of measures you take to better prepare yourself. I mean, I guess, sure, we have probably enough food we could have eaten for a while. But other than that, I just feel like I was not well prepared, and I think I want to kind of make a list of like things kind of in order of priority that I want to start working on and having myself prepared. But then I also wanted to read this thought, and then I'm really not going to be on here long. I can't navigate like what else I really should say other than the storms were crazy. I'm happy to report our power is back on, of course, so now I feel better. But my pastor wrote Sunday evening thought. So obviously I record on Mondays. This was his thought yesterday. Thinking about the storms, storms are viewed by most as destructive, deadly, aggravating, and painful. But God uses storms. Not the author of them, but will use them. It was the storm where the disciples learned faith and peace in his presence. It was the storm that led Jesus to free the man filled with demons. Storms can bring freedom. Storms can unsettle an idle, slothful spirit. Storms get you moving. Storms unsettle you. Unsettle the environment and reset the atmosphere. Michigan went from 100 degrees to a pleasant 75 in less than 1 hour of a storm. He's not wrong. The after effects of a storm can seem frustrating, demoralizing, but God has a way of using storms to reposition us for grace. And I just thought that was, imagine the incredible wisdom of my pastor to have something like that when I could not. I'm so grateful for him and his leadership, and I just wanted to, I know he doesn't listen, but I just want to say thank you. So with that, I am going to say thank you for being here. Remember that we are created on purpose for purpose. Thanks. Bye.